You'll have to do some work to find Lakefield, Minnesota on a map. It's a tiny speck of a farming community in the state's southwest corner, a place that has more in common with the Dakotas than with Minneapolis. That's where Teresa Resch grew up, a high school athlete who figured she'd wind up close to home, working in agriculture, until a very different opportunity beckoned. It's not like there was an obvious path from playing small college volleyball into professional sports management. And even if there was, it's not like there were a lot of role models, women working in front offices who could point the way. But Resch, who was blessed with obvious smarts and an infectious energy, kept making an impression. First with Disney, then with the NBA, and then with Masai Ujiri. She's a full-blown Torontonian now, in the process of taking her next big professional step, as the president of the city's new WNBA franchise, the Tempo, which begins play in 2026. This is a remarkable time for women's professional team sport. The Professional Women's Hockey League is flourishing. The Women's Premier League, the NWSL, and the Northern Super League have proven there's an audience for women's soccer at the highest level. And then there's the gold standard, the WNBA, now in its 29th season, which everyone believes will be a hit from the first tip-off in Toronto. I sat down with Teresa in a place with which she's very familiar, the Toronto Raptors dressing room in the Scotiabank Arena. So it's nice to see you. Nice to meet you. This is, I guess, I was going to say this is kind of home base for you, but it's not home base anymore. But familiar surroundings here in the Raptors dressing room, I guess.
Yeah, this is, I would say, this is my formative years in the sports business industry. I spent 11 seasons with the Raptors, moved to Toronto for this job, never having visited before. And this became home very much. So it's kind of coming back in here to talk to you. Felt like coming back home for sure.
Oh, that's great. I think formative years, I've decided they can just keep going. I think I'm still in my formative years too. So.
Oh, they'll continue forever. Nenever retire, right? We're always a growth mindset, Steve.
Yeah, I think that's I'm sticking to that until somebody pushes me away from it. But Teresa, could you talk a little bit about your career path? Because I know I run into people all the time who want to be in sports administration. Sometimes former athletes or athletes who want to pivot. There are a lot of courses. There are all kinds of university programs, college programs, and that are in very high demand. But so when you were an athlete. You decided to go that route. What were your expectations? Where did you think it was going to take you?
It's funny you say that because I think within sports, it's a great opportunity, but also a burden. There's not a clear path anywhere. So you can make your own, which means that no matter what path you're on, it could be the right path, but you're also questioning it the entire time. So I started as a young girl living in a very rural community, playing sports because I was 6 foot tall and there's 1,200 people in my entire town. So of course I played. But I also was very involved in my community. My family was very agricultural based. So I always just assumed I would go to the University of Minnesota and study agriculture business. And that's what it would be. But then I had some great success, and ultimately the opportunity to play university athletics was there. So I played volleyball at Augustana College in Sioux Falls, South Dakota. And my freshman year, we hosted the NCAA championships, Division II, and there was a woman there who ran NCAA championships. That was her whole job. And I said right then and there, I'm like, that's incredible. I want to do that. She was literally making my dreams come true. And I'm like, that's a job. I can do that. So fast forward, I ended up going to grad school, got my MBA, did an internship at Disney World at the Wide World Sports Complex. From there, I met people at the NBA. They were running the draft combine there. They had just done the deal with Disney for the broadcaster, trying to get more cross promotion. And I met some people at the league office who gave me my very first ever job in sports, which was an assistant in basketball operations in New York City. I did that for 5 years, and 3 of those years was with the international group. At that time, we were 12 people based out of New York trying to grow the game of basketball around the globe. And I had a chance to travel the world. I was in my 20s. It was an incredible experience, really seeing basketball used as a tool around the globe to grow the game. And one of our camp directors in the continent of Africa for the Basketball Without Borders program was Masai Ujiri. So got to know him a little bit over summers. When you're doing those camps, it's a whole different experience. You're across the globe. You have a lot of autonomy. Like as an assistant, I was in charge of things, and you get to know people really well. I left the NBA league office and worked in private industry. It was an incredible job with Ultimate Hoops. It was part of Lifetime Fitness. We were literally giving the average Joe the NBA experience. And Masai called me up and said, hey, I got the job in Toronto. Come be part of my team. And I really hesitated. I'd enjoyed my time at the NBA, but I didn't think professional sports was where I wanted to be. But I joined it because rarely do you get an opportunity to be part of a front office, and rarely as a woman who didn't even play basketball. So I had to take the opportunity, and it was challenging. I had moved to Toronto, having never visited the city. So it was challenging just both personally and professionally, but it was an incredible opportunity. And there's no way I'd be in this chair today, figuratively and literally, without that experience.
Wow. So I'd say, and again, I don't want to sound too cliche talking about this, but in terms of role modeling, people, I've talked to people who, especially women, who are kind of pioneers in sport in different ways in terms of the business or in other ways sometimes, and they've told me, look, I didn't see anybody like me doing those jobs, the jobs that I would end up doing or that I wanted to do. But it sounds like you actually ran into somebody very early on who was doing the kind of job, a woman who was doing the kind of job you wanted to do.
Yeah, it's interesting. So I ended up, my pathway is very different than what she was doing. But I think in general, it just opened my eyes to an opportunity to work in sport that wasn't a coach and wasn't a professional athlete. I just hadn't really seen that before. So I think that was the biggest thing. It just opened my eyes to the opportunity. And then from there, I'm a very curious person. I think that's been a huge benefit for me over the years. And I was just really curious. I started researching, learning more, and then just opened my eyes to a much broader, bigger world of sports.
Did you feel, were there impediments within the sports business as a woman as you made that progression? Obviously, Masai, what Masai saw in you and immediately said, come work for me, come work in my organization. But were there any times where you felt, blocked?
I think that if you are in a career trajectory where you don't feel blocked, you're probably not trying hard enough. You're probably not pushing the envelope. I would say that it wasn't necessarily always about being a woman, but it's just, how do you get into this industry? Like you said, people ask me all the time, and, in some ways it's luck, but it's also preparation when it meets opportunity. I truly believe that, because I was at the end of the road so many times. Going to grad school was because I knew I needed more experience. I did the internship at Disney because I didn't get a job, right? I was at the end of the internship at Disney. I had been a finalist for 5 different positions. I hadn't got any of them. The job I was most qualified for in the world, I didn't get. And I was like, how am I ever going to find a job in this industry? So it's a tough industry, and you have to have some things go your way. And ultimately, you have to continue to invest in yourself, continue to be curious, continue to learn, expand your intelligence in so many different fields. I'm definitely a generalist, which is hard because you're not a specialist or an expert in any one field. And that's kind of hard to get your foot in the door, because a lot of times, even working for the Raptors, there's a job opening. We want the best of that one person, of that one skill set, the statistician, the physical therapist, the coach. And it's hard to get your foot in the door without having more of a generalist. So I would say, as a woman, ultimately, I didn't see a lot of women in the spaces I was in. Reflecting is only when I realized that, though. I had a lot of support along the way. I can't point out one single situation where I feel like because I was a woman, I didn't get that opportunity. But the thing that I know now is that a lot of times you're not in those rooms, so you don't know what the conversation is. So I think more than anything, now that I see more women in those rooms, the conversation that's being had. The different frame of mind that we bring to every conversation, and it's being represented, and that's what makes me really excited.
It's funny you mentioned those, the kind of rejections, if you setbacks. It's funny how those shape you. I used to have a file of every rejection letter I ever received.
Oh wow, that's ooh.
Just held on to them, whereas I was pitching a story or pitching a magazine story or something along those lines. Or the
I
odd
guess
thing.
that's motivation.
I don't know. I think it well, sometimes it just. You just kind of it's the path not taken, and sometimes too, right? That I'm not sure if those things had all panned out, where I would have wound up.
Yeah, I think of that a lot. There was this, like I said, I was young, so you get a little frustrated a little easier, and I had all these rejections, and there's a woman, her name is Jennifer Azzi. She's a pioneer in women's basketball, and she was at one of the clinics, and she spoke to a high school girls team. And I heard her tell a story. I'm going to mess up the years, but she was trying out for the Olympics. Ultimately, she was the very last person cut. Like, that had to hurt. And she gave up the game. She stopped playing. And she only a year later started playing again because she just missed it, right? So she just started playing. She ends up making the next Olympics team. She wins her gold medal. And the moral of the story is the team that she was cut from actually won bronze. So, like, when you think it's your gold medal opportunity, it probably was just your bronze, and your gold medal opportunity is still coming. And it's so funny because later I met her. Like, I knew her, but not well. 5-10 years later, I met her, and I retold her the story she had told me, and she couldn't even remember it. So it's so interesting because she had made such an impact on me in that moment, yet she didn't even understand that she had. Yeah. So I just think about all the moments that we have in business and life where we're impacting people, you don't even know it. So anyways, maybe those letters, right? All those people that wrote it motivated you, and they didn't even know.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, maybe. At the time, it didn't feel like that. I'll tell you. And it's not like I go look at them now. I want to ask you, what's the most important thing you learned from Masai as a boss?
Think big. Honestly, like the ideas he had and the things that he was trying to get done. He was probably the only person that believed in it. But you go along for the ride, and all of a sudden, I think it is open press conference. Like, the Raptors hadn't made the playoffs in 8 years, and he's like, we are going to win here. I don't know if anybody believed that other than him, right? And I think thinking big in that, but then also thinking big, getting a practice facility built, starting a G League franchise. Some of these really big things, investing in player development, have really moved the organization forward. And they were home runs, right? It took a lot to get people on side and to get the momentum to get those things done. So, yeah, thinking big, thinking different.
Okay, I want to ask you a little bit about kind of a big picture thing about women's team sport, because that's where you are now. We'll talk about that in a second, but. I was thinking, so I covered the 1999 Women's World Cup soccer. So you were probably,
99ers.
Yeah. So you would have been university, maybe
high school.
No,
it was my senior year of high school.
Okay.
I just dated myself.
So I dated myself too, because I was a grizzled guy in the press box already. So I covered a lot of. I did cover that tournament. Covered a lot of women's soccer in those days, and that was there was a moment around the turn of the century where like that. Obviously, huge television ratings, Mia Hamm, Brandi Chastain, Rose Bowl's full for the final. And out of that comes women's professional soccer. Also out of that comes Sports Illustrated for Women. Up here, we had, which people have completely forgotten, I think, something called WTSN. TSN started a parallel network for women's sports. Sue Prestige ran it. And there was a moment there where I thought, okay, this is it, right? Women's sports, we've seen it. And there was a U20 women's soccer game here around the same time in Edmonton that drew 40,000 people, early Christine Sinclair, and a huge television audience. And here's the moment for women's team sports. People will watch women's tennis, they'll watch women's individual sports in the Olympics, but not team sports. But within 2 years, the magazine was gone, WTSN was gone, those women's soccer leagues all struggled. There was a succession of them. They struggled to survive and mostly failed. So that's a long time ago. And yet, but here we are in a moment where the NWSL, the professional soccer, is thriving. We have the PWHL, the WNBA, which I think at one point it felt like, well, this is something the NBA's got to carry, right? It's not going to live on its own. But it feels like that moment that it felt like it was going to happen then, almost a quarter century ago, has happened now. Do you have any sense of why? Like, why are we in this moment now when all of that stuff people dreamed about, and then people said, no, you can't sell this. There's no business case. Suddenly there's an easy business case for it.
Well, it's so interesting you say that, because you say 1999. Like, that's 25 years ago, right? So think about all the different societal changes that have happened. The media, the broadcast, the way people consume sports, the role it plays in society, like everything has evolved. And I think when you say a moment, Larry said this at the press announcement when we got the team, Like, we're not talking about a moment anymore. This is a movement. This is sustainable. And I think that's what's different. I think that's what's most different. And I think what makes that different is the value proposition of women's sports. It's seen differently now. The fan base, we have so much more information on them and how valuable they are, how much loyalty they have to the sponsors and the people that connect with them. The way that people consume sports has completely changed. We now have all these on-demand stations, streaming, highlights, talking about the games all the time. It used to be so hard to be a women's sports fan. You couldn't find the games. You couldn't. But when they were there, people showed up. Like you said, that game in Edmonton, I'm not familiar with that, but unbelievable viewership because it was there. And for a long time, the only option was linear. And there's people deciding what you got to watch. Now the fans get to decide what they want to watch because it's there. And I think their eyeballs and their money is telling us that there's a valuable property in women's sports.
Yeah, like I hate to reduce everything to money, to commerce, but those decisions were made, when those decisions were made not to follow through with things, it was because there was no belief in the market. It was that, well, we can put this product out there, but, and, in part that it might have been that, there's not enough of a women's market, or not enough women watching women's sports, or there's not enough money in that, or the women who are sports fans are watching men's team sports like everybody else, right? Like it was.
I mean, we can dissect it every single way, but I think the biggest difference is between men's and women's sports holistically is men's sports have been invested in based upon potential, and women's sports have had to really prove ourselves. And what's great is we have, and that's why this is going to be a movement and not a moment, because there's value there. And ultimately, it's just really exciting to understand that those people who have invested in women's sports now are seeing the return, right? I think that back, if you look at the NBA at 30 years, that was like 1976. That was when the ABA, what would you call that? Collaboration, a buyout happened.
It
folded into the NBA. I mean, the finals were on tape delay, all this stuff, but people kept investing in it. It could have easily ended there, but people kept investing in it because they saw the potential in it. And that's what's happening in women's sports now is you invest in the potential of it. And now those people who have invested in it are seeing very, very big rewards. And now everybody wants in.
What's the process of starting a franchise from scratch? Tell me what that's. I know people who've done that with expansion teams and other sports over the years. But what's that like?
It's a roller coaster, Steve. It's incredible. You have the highest of highs, like literally making a legacy, like getting to name a team, name colors. How does it look? Getting to hire your entire team around you, being able to implement legacy systems. Like that sounds so boring, but how many times is a business handicapped because of this archaic technical system that's in place that is hard to transition out of? Like we don't have that to deal with. Like we don't have any legacy systems. We get to create our own. But that's really, really hard to start from scratch. So you have something every single day, every single hour, every single month that excites you because you know that you're literally changing the game and deciding the future and building this foundation. And in that same moment, it's something really, really hard to do because it's never been done before. So it's this roller coaster constantly. I'm trying to stay even keel and weather the storm. It's not even a storm. It's just that's the ebbs and flows of starting something new.
How about you enjoying the hiring process, building your team? Like, are you seeing, you see people, you run into young women who remind you of you?
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And I mean, young men too. I think it's not limited to women. Like we have a lot of people who are really, really excited about being part of this organization. So we're a team of 5. I call ours starting 5 right now, our senior leadership team, hiring every single day. So follow us if you want to be part of it. But you're right. People are talking to me, reaching out, emails. I want to be part of this. And it's really great. Every single job posting, I think we've had over 500 applicants. So it's incredible. I think my HR person is pulling her hair out, but it's a good problem to have.
Now, how far are we from opening tip? Just give me...
May 2026. I don't know the days because we don't know our official tip-off day, but yeah, it's going to be here really quickly. Yet it seems so far away.
Well, it's exciting, and congratulations.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Oh, me too.